The Deep Space Radar Station in Antarctica picked up the signal at exactly midnight UTC. At first, the operators thought it was just another piece of space debris, one of the thousands of objects they track daily around Earth's orbit. But this signal was different. It was moving against the solar wind, accelerating in a way that defied the laws of physics as humans understood them. Captain James Walker was eating his breakfast in the Earth Defense Force headquarters when the call came. His coffee had gone cold, forgotten as he listened to the voice on the other end of the line. Within an hour, he was aboard the EDF's newest ship, the Defender, breaking orbit and heading toward the edge of the solar system. "Sir, the object has stopped near Pluto's orbit," his sensor officer reported, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. The bridge of the Defender fell silent as the main screen showed their target, a ship that dwarfed their own vessel like a whale next to a minnow. The alien vessel was beautiful in a terrifying way. Its hull gleamed with a metal unknown to human science, curves and angles blending in impossible ways. It hummed there in space, waiting, as if knowing humanity would come to greet it. Walker straightened his uniform. "Open a channel on all frequencies," he ordered. "Let's show them humanity knows how to be civilized." Before they could transmit, their communication system activated on its own. A figure appeared on their main screen. Tall, humanoid but clearly alien, with skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. The creature's eyes held the wisdom of centuries. "I am Commander Dax of the Stellar Empire." The alien spoke in perfect English, making everyone on the bridge jump. "Your primitive transmission systems were simple to decode. We have come to inform you of your integration into the Empire." Walker kept his voice level, years of diplomatic training kicking in. "We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations, Commander. However, Earth is a sovereign world. We would need to discuss any integration." "You misunderstand, Captain Walker," Dax interrupted, showing they had already learned everything about Earth's command structure. "This is not a negotiation. The Empire spans 10,000 star systems. We have guided the evolution of 100 species. Your civilization has been classified as Level 2, barely beyond discovering fire compared to our Level 9 status." The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. Walker felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. "And if we refuse this integration?" Dax's skin rippled with colors that somehow conveyed amusement and pity at the same time. "Then you will face extinction. We cannot allow primitive species to develop unchecked. You have 3 Earth months to prepare for our return. Your world leaders will be contacted with further instructions." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. The alien ship turned with impossible grace and vanished in a flash of light that their sensors couldn't even begin to understand. Walker looked at his crew's scared faces and felt something beyond fear. He felt anger. Who were these aliens to judge humanity's worth? To threaten their very existence? He pressed the direct line to Earth Defense Command. "Admiral Reed, sir," he reported, his voice firm. "We have a situation. The aliens who contacted us, they're not here for friendship. They're here to conquer us or kill us. But they've made their first mistake." "And what's that, Captain?" the Admiral asked. "They've given us 3 months to prepare. They think we're primitive, sir. They've underestimated us. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's proving others wrong." As the Defender turned back toward Earth, Walker began drafting his report. He knew humanity faced its greatest challenge, but he also knew something the Empire didn't. Humans had never backed down from a fight, especially when the odds were against them. The Empire thought they were dealing with simple primitives. They would learn that humanity's greatest strength was being underestimated. The real question was, could humanity unite and prepare in just 3 months? Walker looked at the determination on his crew's faces and knew the answer was yes. They had to. The alternative was extinction. The huge alien ship appeared without warning above New York City 1 week after the first contact. Its shadow covered most of Manhattan, causing traffic to stop and millions of phones to point upward. This time, The Empire hadn't come to talk. They had come to judge. Admiral Thomas Reed watched from the Pentagon's command center as smaller ships descended from the massive vessel. Their scans penetrated everything: military bases, power plants, and even the underground bunkers that governments thought were secret. "They're scanning our technology level," one of his scientists explained, pointing at the readings. "But they're only looking for what they expect to find. They're not even trying to understand our different approach to technology." The Empire's assessment team landed in front of the United Nations building. Unlike Commander Dax, these aliens looked almost bored. They carried devices that looked like jewelry but were probably weapons. Their leader, who called himself Inspector Val, barely glanced at the human welcoming committee. "Your species uses combustion engines." "How primitive," Val said, his translator making his voice sound like metal scratching metal. "You haven't even mastered basic gravity control." He walked past the world's leaders as if they were children. But Reed noticed something everyone else missed. When the aliens passed by a soldier's radio, their instruments showed confusion. When they saw tanks and jets, they dismissed them as primitive. But Reed had fought enough wars to know that sometimes the simple weapons were the most effective. In their secret underground base in the Rocky Mountains, Reed met with his team. "They think we're stupid because we didn't develop the same way they did," he said, spreading out maps and battle plans. "But that's their weakness. They expect us to fight like them." Dr. Lisa Brown, their chief weapons expert, nodded in agreement. "Their scans didn't even register our electronic warfare systems. They were looking for energy weapons and gravity drives. They completely ignored our missile silos and electromagnetic pulse devices." Over the next few weeks, the Empire's assessment teams visited every major city on Earth. They watched human movies about alien invasions and laughed. They studied human weapons and smiled with pity. But they never asked about the things that made humans different: their creativity, their determination, their ability to think in ways the Empire had forgotten. Reed used this time wisely. While the aliens weren't looking, he ordered all important military equipment moved underground. He had engineers studying every second of footage of Empire technology. Most importantly, he noticed that the aliens always followed the same patterns, used the same tactics, as if they couldn't imagine doing things differently. "Sir," his assistant reported one day, "the Empire just classified Earth as a Level 2 civilization. They say we're barely worth conquering." Reed smiled for the first time in weeks. "Good, let them think that. While they're busy looking down on us, we'll be preparing our surprise." The Admiral walked to a giant screen showing Earth's defense plan. Unlike the Empire's rigid battle formations, this plan looked like organized chaos. Submarines hidden in the deepest oceans, fighters scattered in remote mountain bases, weapons the Empire wouldn't expect because they had evolved past such primitive thinking. "Send word to all commands," Reed ordered. "Operation Thunderbolt is now active. We have 2 months to prepare our welcome for the Empire's invasion fleet." As the Empire's assessment ships left Earth, satisfied with their findings, they never noticed the activity beneath the surface. They never saw the determination in human eyes, the late-night planning sessions, the weapons being built in secret underground factories. They thought they were dealing with primitives who would bow down before superior technology. Instead, they had awakened a species that had spent its entire history learning to fight against impossible odds. The Empire had made their report. Earth was no threat. And that was exactly what humanity wanted them to think. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, in a secret lab that officially didn't exist, Dr. Maria Torres hadn't slept in 3 days. She stared at the piece of Empire technology they had managed to capture. A simple communication device dropped by one of the assessment team members. Around her, 20 of Earth's best scientists worked nonstop, trying to understand how it worked. "It's impossible," one of her team members said, rubbing his tired eyes. "Their technology is too advanced. We might as well be cavemen trying to understand a smartphone." Maria ignored him, focusing on the holographic readings floating above her workstation. The Empire thought humans were primitive because they didn't use gravity drives or energy weapons. But Maria saw something in their technology that others had missed. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a pattern in the device's energy signature. "Their shields change frequency to block different types of attacks. But the pattern, it's too perfect, too predictable." The lab buzzed with activity as more scientists gathered around her station. They had been studying different pieces of Empire tech for weeks, parts of their scanners, fragments of their ship's outer hull, and even a broken weapon one of their soldiers had left behind. "Their technology is like a perfect mathematical equation," Maria explained, her eyes bright with excitement. "It follows exact rules every time. But that's not how humans build things. We make our technology flexible, able to adapt to chaos." She pulled up readings from human electronic warfare systems, the complex, ever-changing patterns they use to confuse enemy radar and communications. Next to the Empire's perfect patterns, human technology looked like beautiful chaos. In another part of the underground complex, Admiral Reed watched through a window as engineers tested their theory. They had built a copy of Empire shields based on the technology they'd studied. Against normal weapons, the shields were perfect, but when they hit them with rapidly changing frequencies from multiple directions, the shield shattered like glass. "Their weakness is their perfection," Maria told the emergency meeting of world leaders, speaking through secure video links. They'd been the strongest for so long, they'd forgotten how to adapt. Their shields can't handle randomness because they've never needed to. The leaders argued about the best way to use this information. Some wanted to share it with the Empire, to prove humans weren't primitive. Others wanted to keep it secret until they could build better weapons. But Maria wasn't finished. "There's more," she said, her voice cutting through the argument. "Their entire battle strategy works the same way. Perfect formations, perfect timing, perfect responses to every attack. But what happens when you do something they don't expect?" She showed them computer simulations of Empire ships in battle. They moved like dancers following the script, beautiful but predictable. Then she showed how human ships could use this against them, attacking from odd angles, using random patterns, changing tactics in the middle of a fight. "They think their way is the only way to advance," Maria explained. "But humans took a different path. We built our technology to handle chaos because our world is chaotic. That's not primitive. That's survival." Admiral Reed stepped forward. "Dr. Torres has given us a chance," he said. "The Empire expects us to fight like them, to try to match their technology. Instead, we'll fight like humans." As the meeting ended, Maria returned to her lab. On her screen, she watched simulations of human ships dancing through space in unpredictable patterns, confusing and overwhelming Empire defenses. The Empire thought humanity was stuck in the past, but they were wrong. Sometimes, taking a different path wasn't a sign of being primitive. Sometimes, it was a sign of being innovative. And innovation was humanity's greatest weapon. 2 months had passed since first contact, and the old missile silo in Nebraska looked abandoned from above. But 50 feet underground, General Marcus Stone watched as soldiers loaded modified nuclear warheads onto special delivery systems. These weren't the normal missiles from Earth's past. They were something new. "The Empire expects us to beg for mercy," he told his troops as they worked. "They think we'll try to copy their energy weapons and fail, but we're not copying anything. We're doing this the human way." In orbit, astronaut Robert Banks floated inside a seemingly empty section of space. His ship, the Shadow, was testing Earth's newest technology. Not fancy alien metals, but special paint that absorbed radar and light. Simple, but effective. The Empire's sensors were looking for advanced technology, not clever tricks. "How's the stealth system working?" Ground Control asked through his radio. Banks smiled as another Empire scout ship passed nearby without noticing him. "They're flying right past us. They can't see what they're not looking for." Meanwhile, In the Pacific Ocean, submarine captain Linda Morris guided her vessel through the deep waters. Her sub carried no fancy alien technology, just good old-fashioned torpedoes with some new surprises inside. The Empire didn't even think to look underwater. They had forgotten about fighting in 3 dimensions. Their ships are perfect for space, she reported after watching another Empire patrol. But they've never fought in an atmosphere, never dealt with water pressure or ocean currents. They don't understand our environment. At the Underground Command Center, Admiral Reed and Dr. Torres reviewed their findings. The Empire's ships were incredible in space, but they struggled with Earth's gravity, its magnetic field, its atmosphere. They had evolved past dealing with planetary conditions. Look at this, Maria said, showing a simulation. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, but our nuclear weapons, they release energy, heat, and radiation in ways their shields never learned to handle. We're not primitive. We're different. The Admiral nodded, pointing to a map showing Earth's defenses. They expect us to put all our weapons in space, to try to fight them on their terms. Instead, we're hiding in places they forgot existed. Submarines under the oceans, stealth ships in orbit, bases hidden in mountain caves, weapons that worked in ways the Empire had forgotten about. Earth wasn't trying to match the Empire's technology. They were using their own environment as a weapon. In Australia's outback, special forces trained to fight Empire troops. The aliens were stronger and had better weapons, but they moved in perfect formations, never adapting their tactics. Human soldiers learned to be unpredictable, to use the terrain, to fight dirty if they had to. Their armor is amazing in space, the training officer explained, but in Earth's gravity, in mud and rain and heat, they're slow, clumsy. They'd forgotten how to deal with nature. Time was running out. The Empire would return soon with their invasion fleet, but everywhere on Earth, humans were preparing in ways the aliens couldn't imagine. They weren't building energy weapons or gravity drives. They were taking their primitive technology and making it deadlier than anything the Empire expected. Send the final report to all commands, Admiral Reed ordered. The Empire thinks they're coming to crush primitives. Instead, they're about to fight an enemy they don't understand, using weapons they've forgotten how to defend against, in an environment they can't control. As the sun set on the last day of preparation, humanity was ready. They weren't ready because they had matched the Empire's technology. They were ready because they had embraced their differences. Sometimes, being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. The Empire's invasion fleet appeared near Saturn exactly 3 months after their first contact. 20 massive warships, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built, emerged from faster-than-light travel. Their golden hulls gleamed in the dim sunlight, a display of power meant to terrify Earth. "Look at these primitives," Commander Dax said from his flagship's bridge. "They haven't even tried to build a defensive line in space. This will be easier than we thought." But Admiral Reed, watching from Earth's command center, smiled. The Empire couldn't see the hundreds of small human ships hiding in Saturn's rings, their stealth systems making them invisible against the ice and rock. They couldn't detect the special weapons waiting in the darkness. "All ships maintain position," Reed ordered quietly. "Let them come to us. Let them think they've already won." The Empire fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their ships arranged in the same pattern they'd used for thousands of years. Why change what had always worked? Their scanners showed nothing dangerous ahead, just the usual space debris and Saturn's beautiful rings. Captain Linda Morris, now commanding one of Earth's stealth ships hidden in the rings, watched the massive vessels approach. Her crew was nervous but ready. They had trained for this moment, practiced their unusual tactics until they were perfect. "Remember," she told her crew, "they expect us to fight like them, to come straight at them with our biggest weapons, but that's not the human way." When the Empire fleet reached the rings, Admiral Reed gave the signal. Suddenly, hundreds of small human ships burst out of hiding, not in any formation, but in complete chaos. They darted between the ice chunks like fish in a coral reef, attacking from every direction at once. The Empire commanders were shocked. This wasn't how space battles worked. Ships were supposed to fight in organized lines, following proper military doctrine. Instead, human vessels swarmed around them like angry bees, their strange weapons punching holes in shields that had never failed before. Impossible. Commander Dax shouted as another of his ships reported shield failure. They're using nuclear weapons modified with electromagnetic pulses. This is not proper warfare. But proper warfare wasn't humanity's goal. Earth ships launched missiles that split into hundreds of smaller warheads. The Empire's perfect targeting systems couldn't track so many small, random objects at once. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, couldn't handle the chaotic mix of radiation, heat, and electromagnetic pulses. Their formations are breaking, Morris reported as she led another attack run. Her ship dodged Empire energy beams by hiding behind chunks of ice, then popped out to launch more missiles. They don't know how to handle irregular attacks. The battle raged for hours. The Empire tried to adjust, but their ships were too big, too slow to chase the smaller human vessels through Saturn's rings. Every time they thought they had trapped the humans, more ships would appear from different directions, using the debris field as cover. Finally, after losing 5 of their biggest warships, Commander Dax gave the order to retreat. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire had lost a battle. Their perfect formations had been broken by human chaos. In the Earth Command Center, cheers erupted as they watched the Empire fleet run away. But Admiral Reed stayed quiet, knowing this was just the beginning. The Empire would be back, and next time they would bring their full force. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "The first victory is ours, but the real war is just starting. The Empire now knows we can hurt them, and that will make them desperate." But for now, humanity celebrated. They had proved what they knew all along. Sometimes the cleverness of the primitive could defeat the power of the advanced. 1 month after their defeat at Saturn, the Empire returned. This time, they brought 1,000 ships. The massive fleet darkened the space between Mars and Jupiter, their weapons charged and ready. Even the bravest human soldiers felt fear at the sight. Commander Dax stood on his new flagship's bridge, his skin dark with anger. "No more games," he announced to his fleet. "No more underestimating these primitives. We will crush them with overwhelming force." But Admiral Reed had been waiting for this moment. "All ships, execute Operation Thunderstorm," he ordered from the underground command center. "Let's show them what happens when you make humans really try." The Empire fleet moved toward Earth in their traditional attack formation, but this time they were ready for human tricks. Their shields were modified, their sensors upgraded. They expected another chaotic battle like Saturn. They were wrong. As the fleet entered the asteroid belt, everything seemed quiet. Too quiet. Commander Dax felt uneasy. "Where are their ships?" he demanded. "They must defend their world." Suddenly, his sensors officer shouted in alarm. The asteroids around them were moving, but not naturally. Thousands of small engines attached to the space rocks fired at once, creating an artificial meteor storm aimed at the Empire fleet. "Primitive, but clever," Dr. Maria Torres commented as she watched from Earth. Her team had spent weeks planting engines and warheads on asteroids, turning the entire belt into one giant trap. The Empire ships tried to dodge, but there were too many rocks coming from too many directions. Their perfect formation broke apart as captains tried to save their ships. That's when the real attack began. Hidden nuclear devices planted on the asteroids detonated in sequence, creating waves of radiation and electromagnetic pulses that washed over the Empire fleet. Their upgraded shields couldn't handle the chaos. They were designed to block specific attacks, not this storm of different weapons all hitting at once. Now, Admiral Reed commanded, and human ships appeared from hiding spots throughout the asteroid belt. They weren't fighting the Empire ships directly. They were hurting them, forcing them into killing zones where more traps waited. Commander Dax watched in horror as his mighty fleet fell into chaos. "This isn't how warfare works," he shouted. "They're supposed to meet us in open battle." But humanity had learned long ago that you don't fight a stronger enemy fairly. You use every advantage, every dirty trick, every unexpected tactic. The asteroid belt became a graveyard of Empire ships as explosion after explosion tore through their ranks. The human ships struck fast and vanished, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. They had studied Empire tactics for months and knew exactly how they would react to each attack. The Empire's rigid battle doctrine became their weakness. They couldn't adapt fast enough to humanity's constantly changing strategies. "Their fleet is in full retreat," reported Captain Morris from her stealth ship. "They'd lost over 300 vessels. They never expected us to turn the entire asteroid belt into a weapon." In the command center, Admiral Reed watched the Empire ships flee. They still had superior technology, but humanity had proven something important. Technology wasn't everything. Innovation, adaptability, and the willingness to try the unexpected could overcome any advantage. "The Empire will be back," he told his officers. "But next time, they'll come not as conquerors, but as equals. Because today we prove that humans aren't primitive. We're just different, and different can be stronger than better." As the last Empire ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, humanity celebrated their greatest victory. They had faced the most powerful force in the galaxy and won, not by being stronger, but by being smarter. The Grand Council chamber of the Empire sparkled with light from 1,000 stars visible through its crystal dome. For the first time in its 10,000-year history, the Empire's ruling council had gathered to discuss peace with a primitive species. Commander Dax stood before the council, his skin shifting between colors of shame and determination. "The humans are not what we thought," he admitted. "They have shown us that technological advancement doesn't always follow the path we expected." On the other side of the chamber stood Admiral Reed and Dr. Torres, representing Earth. They looked small compared to the alien leaders around them, but they stood tall with pride. Their victory had earned them this moment. "You attacked us because you thought we were primitive," Reed addressed the council. "But you forgot something important. Being different doesn't mean being inferior." The council members whispered among themselves. Some were angry that primitives dared to speak to them as equals. Others were curious about these humans who had done the impossible. Dr. Torres stepped forward, activating a holographic display. "Look at how our technologies developed," she said. "You focused on energy weapons and gravity control. We focused on adaptation and unpredictability. Both paths led to advancement, just in different ways." The head of the council, an ancient being named High Elder Val, raised his hand for silence. "In all our history," he spoke slowly, "no species has ever defeated our fleets. No civilization has forced us to reconsider our beliefs. Until now." The chamber grew quiet as Val stood and walked to the center of the room. "Perhaps," he said, "it is we who have become primitive. We stopped adapting, stopped learning, stopped considering new ideas. We became so convinced of our superiority that we forgot how to grow." Admiral Reed nodded in agreement. "Humanity doesn't want to fight the Empire. We want to learn from you, and maybe teach you a few things too. Different perspectives make everyone stronger." Commander Dax, who had first threatened Earth with extinction, now found himself supporting the humans. "I have seen their strength firsthand," he told the council. "They think in ways we forgot were possible. We need their creativity as much as they could use our technology." After hours of discussion, the decision was made. The Earth Empire Accord was brought forward, a document declaring Earth not a subject world, but an equal member of the galactic community. "Let this be a lesson," High Elder Val announced as he signed the accord. "True civilization isn't measured by the advancement of our weapons, but by our ability to learn and grow. The humans have taught us this." As the ceremony ended, Admiral Reed looked out at the star-filled sky. "So," he asked Dr. Torres, What do you think the Empire will make of our other primitive ideas? Maria smiled, thinking of all the innovations humanity could share. They're about to discover that thinking differently isn't a weakness, it's the greatest strength any species can have. Back on Earth, people celebrated as news of the Accord spread. They had faced extinction, and instead found their place among the stars. Not by copying the Empire's ways, but by proving their own worth. Commander Dax approached Reed and Torres as they prepared to return home. "I came to your world thinking you were primitives," he said. "I left understanding that I was the primitive one. Thank you for teaching the Empire how to learn again." The story of humanity's victory spread throughout the galaxy, not as a tale of superior firepower or advanced technology, but as a lesson about the danger of underestimating those who think differently. The Empire had gained not just a new member, but a new perspective on what it meant to be truly advanced. As Earth's ships began exploring the galaxy alongside Empire vessels, they carried this message. Sometimes, the greatest power isn't in having the most advanced technology, but in having the wisdom to see strength in differences.